Hi there, Cancer. Welcome to your September 2023 General Tarot reading. It's Rena here. Well, the reason that the cards are laid out is because I started yammering on about the first card and I had the wrong, it wasn't Seven of Swords, it was Seven of Wands. So suffice it to say, I started over again, or I am starting over again. I had never drawn this card before because this is a new deck. This is my Crystal Magic Tarot deck. And so I was trying to get a handle on what this even represents because I know what the Seven of Wands represents, but I just wasn't quite sure. Oh, I now I get it. It's almost like in a defensive posture because even in the Rider Waite deck, it's kind of similar. So the Seven of Wands to me ultimately is about defending your dream. I have a deck where it shows it as a flame like a torch. Because wands sometimes are depicted as torches. It's the fire element. So it can deal with Aries and Leos and Sagittarians. So obviously, as the central card, this could be somebody in your life that is one of those signs. But in terms of what it represents, the concept of the Seven of Wands, it's this idea of your own defense or standing your ground. And yet in that one deck, when they showed that single flame, like the eternal, to me, it's the eternal flame, which is within ourselves. So, for instance, a child can be abused growing up, and some children are so damaged by it that they really like their flame seems to flicker out, or it's threatening to flicker out, because it's like, maybe they become so cynical about life that, or they feel so victimized that they don't feel like they have any control over anything and that they can actually make something happen. Whereas there are some children who grow up and they know that they were meant for so much more than how they are being treated. So there can be two entirely different reactions to that sort of heinous treatment. But the same thing applies when you're adulting, like you can have a horrible boss and be in a job that you really don't like, but you tend to that internal eternal flame, knowing that one day you're going to put it to work. You're going to kind of express your individual talents in the way that you feel is the best way for you. So whether that's artistically or energetically in the form of being a healer, when maybe right now you're an accountant or a teacher, doing something that is quite different than what you're doing now is the perfect example of that, because you may have gone down a different road. With Cancer, that desire for security is very strong within yourself. And I would say that's because you're ruled by the moon, and the moon can represent security, but also the fourth house that you rule in astrology is about the home base and the childhood. And this is where we get nurtured or nurture ourselves, our nest, our home. So, but obviously sometimes people can really nurture themselves into a golden cage or a golden tomb where they're nice and safe, but there's no growth, and there's it's like very stagnant energy. So the wands that the Seven of Wands represents is expansion. In the past position, we have the Temperance card, which is connected to um, Sagittarius as a sign, so that's one of the fire signs. But also this idea of the, as above, so below. I just want to see, because I don't know if I've ever picked this card before. It's interesting that they have dolphins here. I wonder if they have a correspondence that happens to be different. I'm going to, since this is a new deck and it has a booklet, let me just go very quickly and see what they say about this, because there might be something else they might even say. This is actually, a card. They mention moderation, harmony. And I have said that I have asked, why is this card not connected to Libra instead of Sagittarius? Because actually, Sagittarius is ruled by Jupiter. That's a lot, that's not very, that's pretty excessive. But anyway, also the crystal that is associated with this card is called lepidolite. And it says that it's a calming, balancing stone that contains lithium, the stabilizing element prescribed for mood swings. This lilac pink stone can help you to step away from current processes to bring about positive changes, release bad habits, and let go of your anxieties and worries to move forward. A stone of transition, lepidolite releases stagnant energy and welcomes in new uplifting energy in its place. This is for a middle ground. So the whole idea is that if you have been in any situation, Cancer, that felt imbalanced, so whether it has to do with working long hours, or let's say you're a stay-at-home parent and you feel like you haven't been able to have any me time, you may have been finally putting your foot down. Cancers can, be a nurturing, obviously Cancer is a very nurturing sign, but you also can get very moody sometimes. And I think that a lot of times that's when you feel like you are overextending yourself, doing too much for others and not enough self-care. So something may have triggered this where you are like, okay, that's it. No longer am I going to just be a martyr for others. The Temperance card too, if you have recently quit drinking, remember the temperance movement in the United States, that was sobriety. Or any other type of substance abuse, mind-altering substances, or, that allowed you to tolerate things that really were not tolerable to you, then you may have even seen how you tend to bend over backwards for others and realize that you're resentful about it, even in some cases. The higher message is the Nine of Coins. This is some of these crystals I've never heard of, like Budstone. I have no idea, but this is a card of financial independence. So I would say, too, going with the theme that I just mentioned, also this idea of nurturing the self. Pentacles or coins are really ultimately about energy. And sometimes we are, like, for instance, when a person spends money, sometimes they're spending it on someone else, but sometimes it may be indicated to spend some money on yourself. If you have the tendency to be always giving to others, in other words. So this can also apply to other things in life. Maybe you need to invest time into whatever it is that you want to do and make those kinds of arrangements so that you can have that time for yourself. So that's what I'm getting, that you have to stand up for yourself. What crosses you is the Ten of Wands. This can be a card of burnout. And the person may not even be aware of it until it's too late, because they're trying to do everything. It's like having too much on your plate. This is a card that can even be, it's funny that I'm getting these like, with the Temperance card, there were dolphins, and this has like kind of a mermaid. It's perfect for a water sign. And yet, this is the Ten of Wands, so it's actually connected with fire. But it's like this, it can be like doing heavy lifting. Doing for somebody else what they need to be doing for themselves. So that can even be a form of enabling someone. What's coming in? The Three of Swords. This is about cutting something off very decisively, I would say, in this particular instance. I mean, this could be like heart surgery, if that's something that, maybe that's a note of caution, that if you don't take care of yourself, that it could lead to something more serious. But this is actually a card of rejection. Sometimes it can be feeling that sense of rejection on your end, where somebody has, cut you off from something. But it can be a card of like a clean break. And this can be important if the Seven of Wands indicates that you're involved in a situation where somebody's always seeing the worst side of you and not the best. So the person who is excessively critical, the boss or the partner who's like that, and you already see the patterns, you've already discussed it with them, and it just keeps going on and on. That could be, it's like the clean break. The outcome is another Swords, the Six of Swords, which is about leaving drama behind and moving ahead. Oh, I see now that that's a boat, because I have not picked this card before either. So sometimes this can actually be physical relocation. But in any case, it can be you're making that choice to choose peace over whatever it is. The swords can be, strife. So, or drama, and you're choosing, with the Ten of Wands, you may have a tendency to kind of like take responsibility for somebody else's behavior. What I was just thinking of is that movie called The Days of Wine and Roses. I'm sure some people remember. It's such a great movie. I'd like to see that again with Lee Remick and Jack Lemmon. And actually, there was a more modern movie that has a similar theme with Meg Ryan and I think Andy Garcia, called some of you may know that. I can't think of the name. It's like The Good. I can't think of the name of it. That was a good one too, but it was about sobriety or addiction. Actually, I don't think that the Days of Wine and Roses, they were getting sober. Maybe one of them did, but the whole point is that when two people are using or drinking, let's say, and one person gets sober and the other person doesn't, the person who gets sober can see that relationship from a completely different vantage point and how they contributed to a lot of the dynamics simply by doing certain things, like, being a partner in crime, if you will, being that kind of like person. Sometimes people will drink or use because their partner is doing so and they want to kind of, keep them company in that addiction, which is crazy. But yeah, so you may realize that you need to get away from that situation. And with the Seven of Wands, you may be so wrapped up in this idea of defending yourself that you don't realize at first that this other person is using, like, maybe your vulnerabilities to kind of make you always on the defensive so that they can gain the upper hand. So maybe you're finding that out and you're able to kind of leave that situation. Okay, that's what I have for you, Cancer. I hope that this resonated. If you would like a private reading, the link is below. Take care. Bye.